Well, it is a story of passion, integrity, love and betrayal set in 1782 at the Cape of Good Hope. Well, that's Cape Town-born Maxine Case's latest novel, SOFTNESS of the Lime, following her award-winning debut work, All We Have Left Unsaid, which of course scooped, amongst others, the 2007 Commonwealth Writers Prize for Best First Book. Now, Case joins me now from our Sea Point studios in Cape Town to tell us more about SOFTNESS of Lime, as well as taking part in the Women and Books event hosted by the Artscape Theatre on Tuesday, the 8th of August. A very good morning to you, Maxine. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Indeed, indeed, Maxine. Now, after the success of All We Have Left Unsaid, what inspired you to write SOFTNESS of Lime?
This was a story I've always been told. It's based on a true family story. My great-grandmother was a descendant of a slave, and my grandmother used to speak about her grandmother and how the master was so in love with the slave, even though he had a wife and children of his own, that he disinherited them in favor of the slave. And even though I was very young at the time, I remember thinking that this was very odd. It was very odd to be proud of this love story that wasn't a love story. And I knew that any story between a master and slave is not a true equal relationship.
Yeah. Now, Maxine, this is a very compelling account of the depth of love in a hostile environment, in a hostile landscape. I mean, going through this book, Maxine, it actually reignites the pain that slaves went through, doesn't it?
Really, it does. And I wanted to look at what a slave felt, but also what a master felt. You know, I realized that both of those, that my ancestry is made up of both of that. And so I tried to be as balanced as possible. But obviously, you know, I have a soft spot for the slave.
Yeah, obviously. Now, let's talk a bit more about the characters. So what is it that what is it about Lana that draws Gert to the point where he actually falls in love with her?
You know, I think that she was beautiful, and that's how my ma used to tell the story, that she was so beautiful that the master couldn't resist her. I sometimes think that she was just convenient. She was there, and that if it wasn't her, it would be someone else. But she had an interior world of her own. She had feelings, she had desires of her own, ambitions, and, you know, I hated how, and she hated too, how she was at the mercy of everyone else. And so she subtly asserted herself.
Mm. And Gert is emotionally damaged. So does that mean that Lena balances him out, or is it a case of two wrongs making a right?
I don't think there were any rights there. You know, I never thought of Gert as being emotionally damaged. I just thought that he wasn't in touch, but he likes to think that he was. I think that he has moments of honesty with himself. The story is told from his perspective as well. So we get to know what he's thinking. But I think it was also a very different time. And he uses the fact that it was that time where slavery was prevalent as an excuse for his choices.
Yeah, and the relationship changes drastically when Gert decides to marry another woman. Of course, how much strain can this arrangement take?
Well, you know, I did a lot of research and saw how common this kind of relationship was. And I also think that it took strain on the women that these men married too. I don't think it was only detrimental to the slaves. So I think in many ways it's a feminist text. I looked at how men maintained power in their household, in the world, and the women had to abide by the choices.
Yeah, this is certainly a riveting must-read book. Now, did you at some point feel any pressure to outperform All We Have Left Unsaid?
Definitely. I think that, you know, this book is much later. It took much longer for me to write. All We Have Left Unsaid took under a year for me to write, and this one took 3 years. A lot of it's because it was very researched. I wanted to get everything right, all the details, all the words. I didn't want to use a word if it wasn't in the dictionary at the time. I didn't want to have modernisms or, you know, I tried very hard to erase myself in this book.
Maxine, please tell me you're planning on a sequel to this book.
You know, I actually think that the book lends itself to a sequel. When I was working on the proofs in November, it was very hard to let go and give it back to my publisher, although I obviously had a deadline. And the only way I could mentally make that shift and say, okay, I'm ready to hand it over, was by realizing that Lana's story can continue if I wanted it to. And I think I do want it to.
Yeah, sure. Now, is the book on bookshelf yet?
Yes, it's just in store now.
Okay.
I think it's been the past week.
Okay, fantastic. Now, speak to us about being part of the Artscape Women's Humanity Festival, Women's Zone, and what can you look forward to that?
Well, I'm looking forward to speaking to more people about this work. I'm looking forward to being on a panel with my friend Amber Nicholson, who's introducing her book, The A to Z of South African Women. I'm looking forward to watching Nadia David's At Your Feet, featuring Conita Adams, and taking part in a march for women on Women's Day. There's so many great things. I have a personal connection to this festival. Last year I attended when my mom, Maxine Case, who's also a writer, was talking about her new book, The Rules. And I was in the audience and invited to speak about Softness of the Lime before people really knew that there was this book coming. So I feel like it's coming back and saying, you see, here it is.
Well, Maxine, I can safely endorse this book that it is certainly is a masterpiece. Well done on your latest offering.
You.
And all the best in that Women in Books event on Tuesday.
Thank you very much.
All right, great chatting to you this morning. That was Cape Town-born Maxine Case. She's an award-winning novelist and short story writer, speaking to us about her latest work, Softness of Lime. Now, Case will headline the Women and Books event hosted by the Artscape Theatre on Tuesday, the 8th of August.